I am Magda Kay, a relationship expert, author, and researcher of emotional dynamics between men and women. For years, I have studied attraction, male behavior, emotional intelligence, and the patterns that bring people together or drive them apart. Today, I want to share with you what I have learned through my research, my professional experience, and the thousands of stories I have encountered throughout my journey. What if I told you that the way you speak to a man can either magnetize him or make him quietly lose interest without ever telling you why? Most women are taught to be nice, to over-explain, to soften every sentence so they don't seem like too much. But here is the truth. High-value women don't do that. They communicate in a way that naturally commands respect, without raising their voice, without chasing, and without playing games. You have been told, just be yourself. But no one teaches you how to powerfully be yourself. How to use your voice, your timing, your energy in a way that actually attracts masculine men. Today, we are not just talking about tone or word choice. We are going deep into the psychology of how high-value women speak. Why do some women receive effort, consistency, and respect from men, while others are breadcrumbed, ghosted, or constantly confused? It starts with how they communicate. And no, this is not about manipulation. It is about alignment. When your words match your self-worth, you become magnetic. That is why the phrases and strategies I am sharing today don't feel forced. They feel natural, powerful, and feminine. This is for the woman who is done explaining her standards, done overcompensating, done repeating old patterns. You are ready to be the woman that men listen to, lean into, and respect from the very first conversation. Let's get into exactly how high-value women talk to men, and why it works every single time. There are certain things women say with the best intentions that immediately lower their value in a man's eyes. You might not even realize you are saying them. Phrases like, "Do you still like me?" Or, "Why haven't you texted me back?" Or, "I just don't know where this is going," seem honest and vulnerable. But what they really communicate is anxiety, a need for reassurance, and a lack of emotional control. High-value women don't use words to chase clarity. They let a man's actions reveal clarity. What you say to a man tells him how you view yourself. The moment you start asking questions that sound like you are seeking validation, or over-explaining your feelings to gain closeness, you flip the polarity. You are now the one trying to earn his attention, rather than allowing him to deserve yours. Another phrase to retire is anything that sounds like an empty threat. If you don't do this, I'm gone. Especially if you don't mean it. High-value women don't give ultimatums. They make quiet decisions and follow through. Also avoid phrases that diminish your standards. Saying, "I normally don't put up with this, but," or, "I guess it's fine this time," tells him that your boundaries are flexible when you are emotionally invested. That is the fastest way to train a man to test you. Even casual statements like, "I'm fine," when you are clearly not, or sarcastic digs like, "Well, you always do that anyway," erode respect and create emotional tension. High-value communication is clear, calm, and non-reactive. You don't have to pretend, but you also don't have to perform. Instead of trying to force connection through words, remember this. Silence, pause, and presence are often far more powerful. When you speak, speak with intention. The less you say, the more weight your words carry. The moment you stop trying to convince someone of your worth, they either step up or step out, and either way, you win. High-value woman energy is not something you fake. It is something you embody. It is not about being cold, distant, or playing hard to get. It is about how you see yourself, and how that inner belief radiates into the way you move, speak, and respond. This energy is subtle, but undeniable. It doesn't beg, chase, or convince. It simply exists, and the right man feels it immediately. When a high-value woman enters a conversation, she is not focused on trying to impress. She is observing. She is grounded. Her presence says, "Know who I am, and I will let you show me who you are." That alone flips the dynamic. She is not looking to be chosen. She is doing the choosing. This energy shows up in how she handles silence. She is not uncomfortable with pauses. She doesn't rush to fill every gap with nervous chatter or emotional oversharing. She allows space. She trusts that what is meant for her will never need to be chased, and that truth allows her to relax into her feminine power. You will also see it in the way she reacts, or doesn't. High-value women don't overreact to delays in texting, minor disappointments, or a man pulling back. Instead of spiraling or trying to control the situation, she returns her energy inward. She doesn't punish. She doesn't perform. Her response is calm, intentional, and often silent. And that silence speaks louder than any paragraph ever could. This energy also communicates standards without needing to stat them. She doesn't repeat her boundaries. She lives them. If a man crosses a line, he will feel the shift, not through drama, but through distance. That energetic gap says everything. What makes this energy so powerful is that it is consistent. She doesn't show up one day radiant and grounded, then the next day anxious and chasing. Even when she genuinely likes a man, her self-respect doesn't waver. That is what makes her unforgettable. Not her looks, not her body, but the quiet certainty that says, I am the prize and I move like it. This energy is not about becoming someone else. It is about removing everything that has ever made you question your worth. Because once you remember who you are, everything and everyone starts responding to you differently. Most people think boundaries push men away. But I have seen, time and again, that poor boundaries do far more damage than firm ones ever will. When done right, boundaries don't scare away the right man. They attract him. Why? Because boundaries signal self-worth. And nothing is more magnetic than a woman who respects herself enough to say, this is what I allow. This is what I don't. High-value women don't set boundaries to control anyone. They set them to protect their peace. It is not about making demands or issuing ultimatums. It is about clearly communicating your standards through consistent behavior. When you calmly say, I don't continue conversations when I feel disrespected, and then you actually disengage when you feel disrespected, that speaks volumes. It is elegant, it is powerful, and it teaches people how to treat you without a single lecture. The key is how you deliver the boundary. When you express it from a place of emotional control, not anger, not fear, it becomes attractive. You are not trying to punish him. You are simply showing him what it looks like to be in your space. If that is too much for him, that is not your loss. That is clarity. Weak boundaries look like over-explaining, people-pleasing, letting things slide just this once, staying silent when something genuinely bothers you. Over time, that chips away at your confidence and your value in his eyes. It tells him, without words, I don't believe I deserve better. And subconsciously, he begins treating you like someone who doesn't believe in herself. Strong boundaries say something entirely different. They say, I value my time, my heart, and my peace, and I don't give them away lightly. That doesn't make you hard to love. That makes you worth loving well. Boundaries also create mystery. When a woman has clear limits, she is not endlessly emotionally available. She is not always reachable. She has a life. She is not reactive. She is responsive. And that space gives a man something to earn, something to step up for. The right men won't be repelled by this. They will be challenged in the best way. They will respect you more, listen more closely, and treat your presence as a privilege, not a guarantee. Don't confuse being nice with being lovable. Boundaries don't make you mean. They make you clear. And clarity is a gift to both you and him. Removes the guesswork. It shows confidence. And most importantly, it reinforces that you are not here to compete for love. You are love, and you will not settle for less than what aligns with your energy. So if you have ever been afraid to speak up, remember this. The man who is meant for you will not leave because of your standards. He will rise to meet them. Or he will move aside so someone better can. Either way, you remain in your power. Every high-value woman will eventually be tested by a man. Not because he is cruel, but because testing is often unconscious. It is how men gauge your confidence, your emotional stability, and whether you will fold under pressure. The way you respond in these moments sets the tone for how he treats you moving forward. This is where your power is either claimed or handed away. When a man pulls back, teases you, becomes inconsistent, or says something provocative just to see your reaction, he is not always trying to hurt you. Often, he is trying to figure you out. Is she reactive, insecure, desperate for validation, or is she composed, centered, and in control of herself? Your response tells him everything. The biggest mistake women make when being tested is overreacting. They explain, justify, try to prove their worth, or lash out because they feel thrown off. But that emotional spike sends a clear message. She needs this connection to feel okay. That is when the dynamic shifts, and not in your favor. A high-value woman does the opposite. When she feels tested, she doesn't panic. She pauses. She observes. She trusts that how she responds will determine what comes next. If a man becomes inconsistent, she matches his energy without drama. If he jokes in a way that crosses a line, she calmly says, "That didn't feel good," and creates space. She lets the silence do the heavy lifting. She doesn't argue for her value. She lets her energy speak. The power move is neutrality. When he says something designed to poke at your confidence, you're probably too high maintenance. Don't defend yourself. Just smile and say, only someone who can handle me would know. When he goes cold, you go cool. When he withdraws, you return your focus inward. You don't chase. You don't beg. You observe. This doesn't mean you suppress your emotions. It means you choose when and how to express them. High-value communication is emotionally intelligent. It is not about silence for silence sake. It is about strategy. Don't have to teach him a lesson. You are the lesson. And here is the part that surprises most women. The more grounded and non-reactive you are, the more curious he becomes. He starts to wonder, why isn't she trying harder? And the answer is simple. You don't have to. Your presence is the reward. You are not performing. You are not available to be tested for someone else's comfort. You are either treated with respect or you are gone. Testing is inevitable, but passing the test doesn't mean reacting perfectly. It means remaining true to your value regardless of what he does. That is the kind of energy that shifts a dynamic, elevates a conversation, and keeps you rooted, not through force, but through unshakable calm. There are moments in every connection when the energy feels off. When you start to feel like you are giving more, waiting more, wondering more, that is the signal. And that is when it is time to shift the dynamic. But here is what I want you to understand. You don't need drama, demands, or a deep conversation to do it. You just need the right words, delivered with calm confidence, to reset the energy and recenter yourself as the prize. The most magnetic women I have studied use their words sparingly, but intentionally. One sentence can say everything, if it is rooted in self-worth. If a man is inconsistent or playing hot and cold, don't ask what's wrong or where do we stand. Places you immediately in a position of uncertainty and need. Instead, say, this energy doesn't work for me. Simple, clean, no begging, no explanation. Just a clear mirror showing him that what he is offering doesn't meet your standard. If a man tries to bait you with sarcasm or subtle jabs, don't argue. Look at him and say, that's not something I entertain. You are not punishing him. You are simply choosing not to participate. When he goes silent or pulls back, instead of spiraling, lean into your power. Send a message like, I'm sensing some distance. Let me know if you want to reconnect. I won't chase you. That single sentence will either wake him up or clear the space for someone who actually shows up. Another phrase that carries enormous weight. I'm not available for confusing energy. It is classy, mature, and communicates everything without turning it into a therapy session. When a man hears this from a grounded woman, he understands immediately. She values peace over potential. Here is the truth. A high-value woman doesn't say these things to manipulate. She says them to clarify. When you start communicating from a place of power, not pain, the dynamic shifts. The conversation changes. The way he looks at you changes. He begins to realize that your time, your attention, your energy are not default settings. They are earned privileges. You don't need long speeches. Just a few sentences spoken with grace and certainty. The right phrases act like energetic switches, turning off confusion and placing responsibility exactly where it belongs, with him. So the next time the dynamic feels off, pause, breathe. Choose your words with intention, not to get a reaction, but to protect your peace. Because the woman who can reset the room with a single sentence is the woman no one forgets. Silence is one of the most underrated tools a high-value woman possesses. In a world obsessed with talking, posting, reacting, and explaining, silence is power. And when used with intention, it speaks louder than any words ever could. Silence is not empty. It is not weakness. It is strategy. It is self-control. It is the ability to sit with the unknown without reaching for reassurance. Men are not used to this. Most women, out of fear of losing connection, rush to fill every pause with questions, validation, or emotional pleas. But the moment you master silence, the dynamic shifts instantly. Imagine a man sending a dry or dismissive message. Instead of asking what's wrong or rushing to fix the tension, you say nothing. That silence communicates everything. It says, this doesn't move me. It says, try again with more effort, or don't try at all. That unbothered energy forces him to reflect, not because you are playing games, but because you are no longer reacting like everyone else. When you stop over-explaining yourself, when you let a questionable comment hang in the air without rescuing him from the awkwardness, when you don't immediately respond to mixed signals, you create an energetic boundary that demands respect. Silence draws attention to itself. It creates tension, curiosity, and space for the other person to step up. There is also an emotional silence, a quiet refusal to beg for clarity. You don't need to keep asking, "Where is this going?" or "Why haven't you called?" When a man pulls away, your silence says, "I don't chase," places the responsibility back on him without drama. That quiet confidence is unforgettable. He starts wondering, why isn't she reacting? Why is she so calm? Does she even need me? And that is exactly when he leans in. Silence also protects you. It gives you time to process before reacting. It lets you feel your emotions without performing them in the moment. It preserves your feminine mystery. When you are silent, you are not hiding. You are commanding the space. In conflict, silence is your shield. Instead of arguing or defending yourself, sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is say, "I've said what I needed to say," and then withdraw. Silence is not avoidance, it is sovereignty. It says, "I choose peace over performance." The men who are worth your time will respect a woman who doesn't react to everything. It shows maturity, depth, and emotional mastery. But this only works when silence is intentional, not passive-aggressive, not manipulative. It is not about being cold. It is about being centered. So the next time you feel the urge to over-explain, seek validation, or react emotionally, pause. Let silence do the work. Trust that your presence, your energy, and your standards already speak for you. Because when you use silence like a queen, you don't just take up space. You own it. Theory is powerful, but it is real-life application that transforms understanding into identity. Knowing what to say and when to say it can shift any conversation, break a pattern, and realign your worth without ever raising your voice. The phrases I am about to share are not just words. They are energy delivered with calm feminine strength. When used with grace and intention, they quietly reset the dynamic without confrontation. Let's say you are talking to a man who has been flaky. He cancels plans last minute or only messages late at night. Instead of saying, "Why are you like this?" or "Do you even care?" simply say, "Last-minute energy doesn't work for me." It is assertive but elegant. It communicates the boundary without sounding emotional or needy. He makes a backhanded joke about your standards, something like, "You must be hard to impress." Instead of explaining yourself, smile and reply. Only when someone isn't used to quality, you have just flipped the script. You are not defending, you are affirming. The vibe is inconsistent, hot one day, cold the next. Instead of accusing him or sending a long emotional message, say, "This feels confusing. I'm not available for confusing energy." Short, impactful. You have stated the truth and stepped back from the drama in one breath. He says something dismissive or disrespectful. The old version of you might have brushed it off or gotten defensive. The high-value version says calmly, "That didn't land well with me." You are not starting a fight. You are inviting him to raise his awareness. He learns, in that moment, that you are not afraid to speak up. But you will not argue either. When a man pulls away and you feel the distance, instead of chasing or demanding answers, say, "I'm not sure what this is anymore, so I'm going to take a step back." No drama, no blame, just detachment with grace. He is left to feel your absence rather than hear your complaints. And when a man asks what you want from a relationship, resist the urge to give a long checklist. Instead, say, "I'm not here to convince anyone. I'm here to be aligned with someone who naturally gets it." That one sentence says everything. You are not desperate, not settling, and not here for potential. You are choosing peace over pressure. The beauty of these phrases is that they don't demand anything. They reveal everything. Your standards, your self-respect, your emotional composure. When used consistently, they quietly train others on how to treat you, without ever sounding harsh. Your words are a reflection of your internal world. A high-value woman speaks from clarity, not chaos. She doesn't need to say much, because her energy does the heavy lifting. When you choose your words with care, you don't just sound confident. Become the kind of woman who is remembered long after the conversation ends. Speak less, mean more, and let every phrase reflect the queen you already are.